सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्. We have completed chapter 5 and we are entering chapter 6 now. Sixth chapter elaborately and comprehensively deal with an important spiritual sadhana, so-called dhyanam or meditation. So this is more about dhyanam or meditation. First of all, we have to know that meditation is not a means of liberation. It is not meant for liberation. Dhyanam will not give you liberation directly. We do not prescribe meditation for the sake of moksha. Why? Because according to Upanishadic teaching, the liberation is not a goal to be accomplished. Liberation is our own intrinsic nature. It is siddhavastu. It is not sadhyam. And since moksha is already accomplished fact, it is only a matter of owning up or knowing. It is not a matter of achieving. So, meditation will not give you moksham. The next clarification we should have is that meditation is not prescribed for the knowledge. Because jnanadevatu kaivalyam, we have the Vedic quotation, only through jnanam you get moksham. There are some misconceptions. People do say that you get moksham through meditation, you get knowledge through meditation. Like that, certain misconceptions are prevailing in the spiritual circles. Here, the next clarification is meditation will not give you knowledge. Meditation is not prescribed for knowledge also. Meditation is not considered as a means of knowledge. Therefore, it is not prescribed for the knowledge. There are 6 pramanas to know the knowledge, to acquire the knowledge. They are pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, ardhapatti, anupalabdhi, shastram. Among the 6 means of knowledge, the meditation is not enumerated as one means, and therefore meditation is not a pramadam for acquiring the knowledge. Meditation is not means of knowledge, therefore we should note meditation is not prescribed for knowledge also, either material or spiritual. This is the second clarification. The first clarification is meditation is not meant for moksham. Meditation is not meant for acquiring the knowledge. Meditation is not for mystic experiences. Usually what happens, the meditation gives some mystic experiences. The upasakas do get certain experiences which are mystic. They hear certain sounds, they get vaksuddhi, they experience some terrestrial experiences. This is called siddhis, which is possible through meditation. Meditation do give this kind of siddhis. But the objective of meditation is not to acquire mystic experiences. Through mystic experiences also one will not get moksha. People get confused. If you get mystic experiences, that means you are getting liberation. That is another kind of misconception which is prevailing. Mystic experiences have no relevance with the moksha. That is a byproduct of meditation. So then we have denied three things. Meditation will not give you moksha. Meditation will not give you knowledge. Meditation is not for mystic experiences. If that be the case, how to get the knowledge? How do we get the knowledge? Is the next question. To get the knowledge, you have to necessarily approach a Srotriya Brahmanishta and then ask the Atma Vidya and sit before him and do Sravanam Mananam Annididhyasanam. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. This is already, we have already covered this sloka in 4th chapter, 34th sloka. So, you have to approach a guru and do pranipatam and ask him pariprasnas. Then out of compassion, that guru will give you the knowledge. So, that knowledge you have to accumulate over years. It will not, assimilate all of this sudden. You have to do long Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Acharyat padamadatte padam sishyasya swamedhaya padam sa brahmacharibhyascha padam kalakramena cha. So, to assimilate the knowledge, there are 4 stages. Acharyat padamadatte. Whatever you learn from Acharya is only 1/4. Padam Sishya Swamedhaya, by Mananam, by churning on the teaching, by reliving on the teaching, the sadhaka learns 1/4. Spadam sa brahmacharischa. So 1/4 he learns from the peer group. So while discussing the topic with his peer group, he gets the clarification. Padam kalakramena cha, or a long passage of time, the balance 1/4 can be assimilated. So this is not a short-term course. This is not a crash course. One has to assimilate this knowledge for a long period of a time. Then once you acquire this knowledge, then you understand that you are Atma. Everything is manifested by Atma only. Mayeva sakalam jatam, Mayi sarvam pratishtitam, Mayi sarvam layam yati, tad brahmadvayam asmayam. So to that stage, the sadhaka will reach and he is in union with Atma and starts enjoying that anandam within himself. So, coming to the meditation, meditation is prescribed at 2 levels. The first level is called Upasana, meditation 1, to purify the mind, study the scriptures, attain the knowledge, and then the meditation 2 is prescribed. Meditation 1 is called Upasana. This is Saguna Brahma Ishvara Upasana. So in meditation 1, you really dwell on Saguna Ishvara. Saguna Ishvara Dhyanam. You may do puja, all karma yogam, and all kinds of pujas, kirtanas, all bhakti marga, everything that is prescribed for purification of the mind is upasana. That is meditation 1 is upasana. The entire karma yogam is upasana or meditation 1. After you cleanse your antakaranas, after you purify your mind, you are ready for knowledge. So once you are ready for knowledge, you acquire the knowledge under an able, competent acharya and stay in that nishta. You stay in that nishta and you are in union with that Atma. So that is the 6th chapter of Gita. So the entire thing, once you know, again a meditation is prescribed. That meditation is contemplation on Atma. That is Atmanishta or Nididhyasanam. This is called Nididhyasanam. So staying with the teaching or living in that reality, that is called Nididhyasana, which is again a meditation. So meditation is at 2 levels. In the beginning, before you know about your real self, the meditation is for purification. That is called Upasanam, Saguna Ishvara Upasanam. The second meditation is after you acquire the Atma Jnanam. The second meditation is for staying in the Nikshta, that is Atmanishta, that is called Nididhyasanam. The entire 6th chapter can be divided into 5 main topics. So they are: number 1, the general preparation for meditation. Samanya sadhanani. Otherwise, it is also called Bahiranga sadhanani. General preparation for meditation, by which we mean those preparations or those disciplines which are to be observed throughout our transactions. It is not a discipline to be practiced just before meditation, but they are disciplines to be observed throughout our day-to-day transactions. I will call it Samanya sadhanani or Bahiranga sadhanani, general discipline. What is the significance of the general disciplines? We will learn at a later stage. In simple terms, you can understand this as Karma Yogam. Karma Yogam is the first sadhana or first discipline, meditation. This is Samanya sadhanani or Bahiranga sadhanani, which is required for meditation. First topic is Bahiranga sadhanani or Samanya sadhanani, otherwise called Karma Yogam. The second topic is a specific discipline or preparations. The second topic is specific disciplines or preparations, Vishesha sadhanani, which are to be observed just before meditation. Not throughout the day, but only before we have the actual meditation. They are called Vishesha Sadhanani. In English, specific preparations. So this is like, you have to maintain the posture, you have to close your eyes. All these are called specific preparations. Just before the meditation, you have to observe all this so that you will have concentration. So this is topic 2, how to achieve the concentration while meditation is mentioned by various practices. So this is the topic 2. Specific preparations just before meditation. Then the third topic is Dhyana Swarupam. Dhyana Swarupam Kim? The process of meditation. What is meditation? Is it concentration or something? Is it remaining thoughtless, still and silent? Is it distraction of the mind? Or is it going away from the mind or transcending the mind? In fact, as many people are there, as many kinds of meditations are there. So many definitions are there for meditation. So we should know what is meditation. In Sanskrit, we call it Dhyana Swarupam. The nature of meditation. This is the topic number 3. The fourth topic in this chapter is the benefit of meditation. What do you get out of this meditation? Dhyana Phalam Kim? We are going to get miraculous powers like levitation and flying. Is it the Dhyana Phalam? If that be the Dhyana Phalam, everybody would love to jump at it. It is not so. Dhyana Phalam is not to get mystic experiences. Mystic experience you may get or you may not get. But the Dhyana Phalam in the first stage is concentration. In the second stage is to be in the union with Atma. The first one is called Upasana. Second one is called Nididhyasana. In the first meditation, you have the purification of the mind and concentration. In the second meditation, you have got the Atmanishta. So this is the topic number 4. The fifth and final topic is the obstacles and their remedies. When you do meditation, there are umpteen number of obstacles that you come across. How to overcome those obstacles is the topic 5. And what are the remedies? In Sanskrit, it is called Dhyana Pratibandha Pariharau. Pratibandha means obstacle. Pariharo means remedy. Obstacles like sleep. Whenever you sit in meditation, you may fall into sleep. So, like that, there are many obstacles. Lot of disturbance will be there. So you have to overcome these obstacles. How to overcome these obstacles is also discussed in this chapter. This is topic 5. So if you go through quickly, the first topic is Bahiranga Sadhanani or Samanya Sadhanani, topic 1. Topic 2 is Vishesha Sadhanani, specific disciplines. The third topic is Dhyana Swarupam. Fourth topic is Dhyana Phalam. Fifth topic is Dhyana Pratibandha Pariharo. So this is all about the sixth chapter. So we will deal topic by topic. The sloka number 1. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Anasrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragdirna cha kriyaha. Paramatma says, he who performs the action to be done without expecting the result of action is a real sannyasi and not a renouncer of rituals. Moreover, he is a yogi and not a renouncer of activities. So, a Paramatma is praising the Gruhastu in this particular 2 slokas. So he says that one who performs without expectation of the results. Without expectation of the results means without having karma phala abhimana is a real sannyasi. Not a renouncer of rituals, not a akriyaha is there, nacha akriyaha. Akriyaha means renouncer of the rituals. Renouncer of the rituals is a sannyasi. So a sannyasi is not the real yogi. A real yogi is one who does work without having obsession for the karma phala. And he also says, na niragni. Agni means Agni is a representation of Vaidika rituals. Like yajna, yaga, all these rituals, they kindle the fire. So Niragni means one who is not doing the fire rituals, who is a sannyasi. So a sannyasi, a renouncer of actions, is not a real yogi. On the contrary, one who does activity without obsession for the karma phala. So that means here Paramatma is saying Gruhasthu is superior to a sannyasi. So chapter begins with Lord Krishna Paramatma voluntarily teaching of meditation. Arjuna did not ask the meditation, but Paramatma voluntarily includes this meditation chapter because it helps in 2 kinds of meditation. One is called Upasanam for the preparation. At the second stage for Nididhyasanam. So he starts with general preparation. Therefore, this verse, this particular sloka comes under Bahiranga or Samanya Sadhanam, which is Karma Yoga, as a method of keeping the mind equipoise. Karma Yoga helps you to have that Samadarsanam. And what is Karma Yoga? We have seen, but Paramatma sums up the same. Karma Yogi is one who considers spiritual growth as a priority in the life. So for Karma Yogi, the spiritual growth is the topmost priority. That is, he does Karma Yogam as the main thing in the life. Anasrita karma phalam Karma phala means material benefits of action. Karma phalam, material benefits, ardha kama. You get ardha and you get all comforts. So maybe the name or fame or promotion or extra salary, extra perks, so many things you can include in this. This is all what you get in one side. Certainly, we do not belittle them. They are okay. But anasrita karma phalam. Anasrita karma phalam means you are doing actions for some karma phala, but if the karma phala is not achieved, if you don't get the karma phala in your favor, you are not totally agitated. You take it as Ishvara prasadam. You receive that with a reverence as a prasada from Ishvara. So this is called anashrita karma phalam, without leaning on the karma phala. Ashrita means depending on. Anashrita means without depending on the karma phala. So he is free from the karma phala. He does the work, he has expectation, but if the expectation doesn't come true, he is not worried. That stage is called anashrita karma phala. Karyam karma karotiyaha. Karyam karma means those actions which are prescribed by the scriptures. The scriptures have prescribed a number of actions like Panchamahayajnas, then Para Upakara karma, Satvika karmas, Vedic rituals. So, all those especially meant for inner growth are prescribed by the scriptures. They are called Karyam Karma. Scriptures do prescribe two types of activities. One set of activity is purely for enjoyment. Eat well, drink well, all those things scriptures do talk about Ardha Kama Pradana activities by which you can enjoy the life thoroughly. The second one is Moksha Pradana. Moksha Pradana activities are Satvika karmas, Panchamahayajnas, Paraupakara karmas. Therefore, the Karma Yogi performs Panchamahayajnas, focusing upon the inner growth. And Krishna says, a karma yogi is a real sannyasi. He is as good as a monk. He is as good as a renunciate, even though he has not renounced the family. Even though he has not put an okorobs. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva Sukhadukke same krutva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Comfort and discomfort, success and failure, gain and loss, each experience is a lesson. You learn from the failure. You grow from the failure. Failure is a field of learning, and therefore he is as good as a sannyasi. Saha yogi cha, he is as good as a meditator too. So here Paramatma talks about a karma yogi as a monk, karma yogi as a sannyasi, karma yogi as a meditator. So the karma yogam itself is a meditation. which will help you in purifying your mind. And he is not obsessed by the karma phala. So that itself is a great sacrifice. So he is as good as a renunciate. So this is what Paramatma expresses in his very first sloka. He praises a Gruhastu. Karma yogi can be termed a meditator, even though he is not a meditator in the literal sense, in the literal term, because he does not sit in a particular place. He does not have a posture. He does not close his eyes. But still, Karma Yogi is as good as a meditator. The reason Shankara Bhagavatpada gives, and other commentators also talk about this, after all, meditation is what? Meditation is to purify the mind. Karma Yogam also purifies the mind. So he is as good as a meditator. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirasi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasya vigatajvaraha brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasapapena padmapatram ivambhasa. Is thinking of the Lord because every action is offered to the Lord. Therefore, the Lord, the Paramatma, is the focus for him. Focusing the mind is there. In meditation, also the mind focus is important. Focusing mind is the main thing. A karma yogi focuses his mind unto Paramatma. He offers his actions unto Paramatma. He receives all karma phala as Ishvara prasadam. So the focus is on Ishvara. So here also the mind focus is there. That is the meditation. It is nothing but an open eye meditation. Therefore, Krishna Paramatma says a karma yogi is a real yogi. He is a real meditator. So thus a karma yogi is a renunciate, a monk is a meditator in the real sense, in the real terms. Not only that Paramatma says that he is a real meditator and a real renunciate, he goes one step further. He says, Na niragnihi. Na niragnihi means he imagines a sannyasi who is not matured. So with an immature sannyasi, Paramatma is comparing a Gruhastu who is much superior to an immature sannyasi. An immature sannyasi renounces everything. No wife, no children, no bank balance, nothing is there with him. He has put on ochre robes, he cannot wear the designer dress. So he has come out of the house and sitting in meditation and thinks of many disciples. He wants to gather more and more disciples. And he thinks of when will he have a foreign trip. He thinks of building an ashrama. So he has got lot of projects, lot of desires lingering in the mind. So such a sannyasi, though he has taken the monkship, though he is in the sannyasa ashrama, he is not a real sannyasi because his mind is not focused onto God. Whereas a gruhastu, in the mid of the actions, his focus is onto the Lord. He is offering all his actions unto Paramatma and receiving the karma phala as Isvara Prasada. So, he says that Karma Yogi is a gruhastha, a householder, and he is a sannyasi, a real sannyasi, because his mind is focused. Similarly, nacha akriyaha. Akriyaha means an external meditator. Imagine there is a person who sits in a place with a proper posture, keeping the body straight, keeping the eyes closed, and he has got a mala also. Like Kabir is saying that, mala is, rotating. The tongue is uttering the Ramanama, but mind is lingering all over the world. So like that, if a meditator's mind is not focused, so he is not the real meditator, but a gruhastu is the real meditator because he is having the right focus. Yam sanyasamiti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava nahya sanyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. O Arjuna, Karma Yogi alone can understand what is called renunciation. That is what Paramatma is saying here. Nobody becomes a Karma Yogi without renouncing fancies. Nobody is a Karma Yogi without renouncing the desires. In the previous verse, Krishna Paramatma had mentioned that Karma Yogi is a real sannyasi and not a corrupt person. In this verse, Paramatma justifies that statement. He asked the question, what is renunciation? The real renunciation. Krishna Paramatma wants to say that external renunciation cannot be considered as a real renunciation. By simply quitting the house, quitting the family members, not having bank balance, that is all external renunciation. That is not the real renunciation. Because the self-knowledge is not connected with external body, but self-knowledge is connected with the mind and intellect. So, if one has got that internal renunciation, one who renounces internally, whose mind is pure, whose mind is not lingering around the world, so such a person is the real sannyasi. The gruhastu is the real sannyasi because all through, in the mid of the actions, his mind is focused on to Lord. He says, I am doing this for the sake of Paramatma, for the sake of Krishna, for the sake of Ishvara, I am doing this action. So he offers unto him with reverence. And he receives the karma phala with the same reverence, with prasada buddhi. So throughout the action, while doing the action, while receiving the karma phala, his focus is on to the Paramatma. Therefore, he is the real sannyasi, not a meditator who has no control over the mind, and not a sannyasi who is immature. Paramatma is not, putting the blame on the entire sannyasa horde or meditators. He has got a point of reference. when he is comparing this, he is comparing with a meditator who is not having a concentrated mind, who is not having a focused mind. He is comparing with a sannyasi whose mind is not stable, whose mind lingers all over the world, whose mind is full of desires. So such a person, though externally he appears to be a sannyasi, is not the real sannyasi. The real sannyasi is one who is a karma yogi, a gruhastu. Therefore, Paramatma says, the main sannyasa required is sannyasa of the concerns of the mind. Sannyasa of those things which disturb the mind. And one of the main thing is that disturb the mind is the concern of the future. What will be my future? What will I become tomorrow? What will happen to me tomorrow? This is one of the major concerns. And after marriage, the concern is double. Because not only I think, what will I do in future? What will wife do in future? Therefore, and there also thinking is, wife dies, what will I do? If I die, what will my wife do? Like that, the concern for the future is the real concern of the mind. So, a real karma yogi is not worried about the concerns of the mind. So, in spite of the concerns, his mind is focused unto the Lord. These concerns will be there. They will not go away. But his approach is different. For Atma, there is no such concern because Atma is asangam. So like that, he is having a great focus on Paramatma. So a Gruhastu is a real meditator. A Gruhastu is a real sannyasi. So this is the topic, and the first three slokas, Paramatma talked about the Karma Yogam, and then he talks about the various other topics. So in this particular chapter, we are going to discuss 5 different subtopics. One is called Bahiranga Sadhanani, that is Karma Yogam. The second topic is the specific disciplines just before meditation, how to concentrate, how to sit, and what is the posture, what will be your, asanam, the seat. So like that, various aspects are discussed. What should be your surroundings? All these things are discussed in preparation of the meditation. This is called Vishesha Sadhanani, specific disciplines just before meditations. And the third topic is Dhyana Swarupam. What is the actual meditation? Meditation, is it on the definition of meditation is discussed at length. So that is the Dhyana Swarupam. The third one is Dhyana Phalam. So what is the benefit of the meditation? The fifth one is Dhyana Pratibandha Pariharo. What are the obstacles of dhyana and how to overcome those obstacles? These topics will deal in the next class. Details will deal very elaborately from the next class onwards. Om Tat Sat Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. ఓం పూర్ణమదః పూర్ణమిదం పూర్ణాత్ పూర్ణముదచ్యతే పూర్ణస్య పూర్ణమాదాయ పూర్ణమేవావశిష్యతే. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. హరి ఓం. శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. హరి ఓం.